The shocking truth behind my daughter's collapse during our call. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. Ava's face froze mid-sentence, like someone hit pause on my daughter's life. It was Sunday, 9:14 p.m., and we were doing our usual Show Me Your Week video call. Me in my kitchen with reheated lasagna, her in that cramped apartment near campus, string lights and thrift store art behind her. She was laughing about a professor who called attendance roll call like we're in jail, and I was pretending not to miss her. The video glitched. Her smile slipped. Her pupils looked huge. "Hey, Ava," I said. "You okay?" She opened her mouth and made a sound I can still hear in my teeth. A wet, tiny gasp, like she tried to swallow air and couldn't. Her phone tilted. The ceiling fan spun in a slow blur. Then the screen filled with carpet as she hit the floor, hard enough that I heard the thud through the speaker. "Ava," I shouted, scrambling up so fast my chair snapped into the counter. "Ava, talk to me. I'm Roger, 42, the boring kind of dad who checks tire pressure and pays bills early. I don't do drama." But staring at my phone like it was a window into a crime scene, I felt something colder than panic. I felt wrongness. Because right before she dropped, a notification banner slid across the top of her screen. Less than a second, but my brain grabbed it like a hook. "See, remember what we practiced. Don't mention the drops." "What drops?" I said out loud, to nobody. I jabbed the screenshot buttons without thinking. My hands were shaking so hard I missed the first time. I hit it again. The call didn't end. Ava's mic was still on, picking up a weird, thin hiss, like someone twisting a spray bottle, and then a chair scrape. A low voice, male, close to her phone, said, almost gently, "Good. Stay down." My stomach turned. I forced my voice calm, like that would fix physics. "Who is this?" "Put her on her side. Call 911. A beat. Then, irritated, "Relax. She does this when she forgets her routine." Her routine. My throat went dry. "I'm calling an ambulance." "Don't," he snapped. "You're going to embarrass her." I whispered into the phone. "Are you in the room with my daughter right now?" He exhaled, like I was a child asking too many questions. "Yes." The dropper bottle caught the light, and I recognized the label. 2 weeks earlier, I would have laughed if you told me I'd be zooming in on a blurry screenshot like I was in a bad detective show. Ava had moved out at 19 with the kind of stubborn pride that made me both furious and proud. We weren't the best friends, parent-kid duo. We loved each other loudly, argued over stupid stuff, then pretended it never happened. When she got the apartment, I helped haul her IKEA boxes up 3 flights and fixed the wobbly bathroom door. She rolled her eyes, but she let me. That mattered. Caleb showed up on moving day with 2 iced coffees and a toolbox like he'd been summoned by the universe to be helpful. "Hey, Mr. Dawson, right?" he said, flashing that easy smile. "I'm Caleb. I live down the hall. Ava said you'd be sweating like a marathon runner." Ava grinned. He already broke his back carrying my lamp. "Don't encourage him." Caleb laughed in the right places. He offered to tighten the bed frame screws. He called Ava brilliant when she explained her class schedule. He told me he was into wellness coaching and helping people optimize routines. It sounded like harmless gym bro nonsense. Over the next week, his name kept popping up. Caleb showed me the cheapest grocery store. Caleb has this study method. Caleb says sleep is everything. I liked that she wasn't alone. I told myself that. Then small things started shifting. Ava stopped answering calls after 8 p.m. and texted instead, "Can't talk RN." She started using phrases that didn't sound like her. "Boundaries are love, Dad. I'm protecting my energy." She changed her phone passcode. Fine, normal, but she also removed me from the shared grocery list we'd had since she was 15. It was like someone was sanding the edges off our relationship. When I asked, she shrugged. "It's just adult stuff." I remember one tiny moment I didn't register as danger until later. Caleb walked her to her car, put his hand on the small of her back, and said, softly but clearly, "Text me when you're done. No exceptions." Ava smiled like it was sweet. And I'd seen that label before, sitting on Caleb's kitchen counter. The dispatcher kept me talking while I raced down I-75 like I was trying to outrun my own heart. I didn't live close. That was the whole point of Ava moving near campus and being independent. I got there anyway, lights from an ambulance washing the apartment building red and blue. In the hallway, a paramedic blocked me with one arm. Sir, are you family? I'm her dad, I said, breathless. Roger Dawson. Where is she? She's conscious, he said, and my knees almost buckled with relief. But she passed out hard. We're taking her in. Ava was on the gurney, pale, lashes fluttering like she was fighting sleep. Her hair was stuck to her cheek with sweat. Dad, she mumbled. I'm here, I said, grabbing her hand. It felt cold. What happened? She swallowed, eyes flicking past me toward the doorway like she expected someone. I just got dizzy. A man slid into the frame like he belonged there. Caleb. Hoodie, clean sneakers, that calm face people trust. Hey, Mr. Dawson, he said, soft voice, palms up like he was the reasonable one. She's okay. It was just a vasovagal thing. How do you know that? I snapped. Are you a doctor? He smiled tighter. I've seen it before. At the ER, everything turned into fluorescent chaos. Bracelets, clipboards, someone asking allergies, someone asking if she'd been drinking. A nurse with sharp eyes and a ponytail, her badge said Tessa, leaned close to Ava and asked, any medications? Supplements? Anything new? Ava hesitated. Just a blink too long. No. Caleb answered for her. She's on a clean regimen. Hydration, electrolytes, that kind of thing. No meds. Tessa's eyes flicked to Ava's wrist where the hospital band Saturday. Can I see your arms, sweetie? Ava tried to pull her sleeve down. It's fine. Tessa didn't push in front of Caleb. She just nodded and wrote something I couldn't read. A doctor finally gave me the easy explanation. Syncope, probably dehydration, maybe anxiety. College stress, he said, like that was a diagnosis. Ava looked at me, glassy-eyed, and whispered, please don't make this weird. She stared past me, lips moving like she was reciting lines. It was my fault because I didn't follow the routine. They kept Ava overnight to be safe, which in ER language means until we're sure she won't sue us. Caleb stayed until security asked him to leave. He didn't argue. He squeezed Ava's shoulder and said, text me when you're settled. No exceptions, like it was a joke. When he was gone, I sat with my daughter in a curtained bay that smelled like sanitizer and stale coffee. Ava stared at the ceiling tiles. The monitor beeped steady, too calm for how loud my mind was. Did you eat today? I asked. Yeah, she said too fast. I mean, kind of. What about those drops? I kept my voice low. A text popped up during our call. Her eyes snapped to mine. You saw that? I saw enough to worry. Ava's jaw worked like she was chewing a thought she didn't want to swallow. It's nothing. Caleb's just helping me. Helping you do what? She turned her face away. Be healthier. Then Tessa came in to check vitals. She slid Ava's sleeve up and I saw the bruise, a thumbprint on the inside of her wrist, faint but unmistakable. Another, darker one, nearer her forearm. Not the kind of bruise you get from bumping a table. Ava yanked her arm back. Stop. Tessa didn't flinch. Who grabbed you? Nobody, Ava said. It's from cupping. Tessa looked at me over her mask. It was a split-second expression, skeptical, concerned, angry, but it hit like a flare. She typed something and said, casually, do you have a carbon monoxide detector in your apartment? Ava blinked. What? Yes. Any headaches this week? Nausea? Weird dreams? Ava swallowed. No. After Tessa left, I stepped into the hall and checked my call log. The timestamp said 9:14 p.m. The paramedics' intake sheet, clipped to the door, said they arrived at 9:41. The building was 6 minutes from campus dispatch. I walked down to the lobby to breathe. The elderly woman at the front desk leaned in and whispered, You're her father? I heard that boy yelling earlier. What did he say? I asked. She lowered her voice further, eyes darting. Something like, good. Stay down. Then she repeated the words she heard, exactly what I'd heard. By morning, the story had been smoothed down into something polite. The discharge papers said, syncope, likely dehydration. Follow up with primary care. Ava signed with shaky handwriting and wouldn't meet my eyes. Caleb arrived with a hoodie and a green smoothie like he was delivering a peace offering. Hey, he said gently. No harm done, right? She's embarrassed. Ava took the smoothie with both hands. Like it mattered more than my hand on her shoulder. Can I drive you home? I asked her. I'm fine, she said. Caleb will. I'm your dad, I said, and hated how small that sounded. Caleb smiled that calm smile again. Mr. Dawson, she's an adult. Let her handle it. In the parking lot, Ava finally looked at me, and I saw fear there, buried under annoyance like she'd layered it on purpose. "Please," she whispered. "Just don't. Not right now." I called her that afternoon anyway. She didn't answer. On the third try, Caleb picked up from her phone. "She's resting," he said. "Stop blowing her up." "Put her on," I said. "You're not helping," he replied, still calm, like he was narrating my own failure back to me. "You're triggering her." On the drive back to my place, my phone buzzed. My ex-wife had already heard. She didn't ask how Ava was. She asked why I was making everything about you. "You've always had to be the hero," she snapped. "Maybe Ava fainted because you stress her out." "Someone was in the room," I said. "A guy told her to stay down." "A guy? You mean her boyfriend?" She sighed like I was exhausting. "Roger, you're spiraling." At work, I tried to act normal. I failed. My boss pulled me into his office after I missed a meeting. "You can't keep leaving mid-shift," he said. "Whatever's going on at home, handle it outside these hours." That night, Ava texted, "Stop interrogating me. Caleb says you're crossing boundaries." Then, 2 minutes later, "I'm fine. Don't come over." I stared at my screen until my eyes burned, wondering if I was the problem. In the enlarged screenshot, Caleb's text showed one extra line. I zoomed in until pixels turned into little squares of guilt. The banner wasn't just, "Don't mention the drops." Under it, half cut off, was a second message, "And say you slipped." Same story as last time. Last time, I tried to tell myself it meant nothing. People say weird things. Couples have inside jokes. Maybe Ava had fainted before and didn't tell me because she didn't want me hovering. That explanation lasted until midnight, when I remembered the hiss through her microphone. At 12:07 a.m., I drove to her building with a bag of groceries I didn't need and a stomach that felt like I'd swallowed wet cement. I told myself I wasn't showing up. I was doing a wellness check. That's what good dads do. That's what paranoid dads say they're doing. The front desk lady recognized me and frowned. "She's not back," she said. "That boy came in earlier, though." "Caleb?" I asked. She nodded and looked away, like she'd already decided she shouldn't say more. Up on Ava's floor, her door looked different. A new chain lock. A strip of fresh tape over the peephole. Little changes that screamed someone wants privacy or someone wants control, depending on how dark your brain is willing to go. I knocked. No answer. I texted Ava, "I'm outside. Just want to drop food." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. As I turned to leave, I noticed a small pile of packages by her neighbor's door, Amazon boxes with that cheap brown tape. One had Ava's name on it, the corner torn. Inside, a white bottle rolled against the cardboard. I know it's wrong. I know. But I slid it out and read the label. Ionic Detox Drops. Not for children. Consult your coach. The same label I'd seen in the reflection. My hands were shaking when I put it back. I took a photo anyway. Receipt date printed on the shipping sticker, delivered Thursday. On the way down the stairs, I passed the trash chute. Something silver caught my eye in the bin. An empty blister pack, torn open, with the words Clonidine HCl still visible. I had no idea what clonidine was, but I knew one thing. It didn't belong in my daughter's trash, and I knew why. The next morning, I did what every normal person does when they think they're losing their mind. I made a spreadsheet. Call times, text times, ambulance times. If I could line it up, maybe it would become less monstrous. 9:14 p.m. Video call started. 9:16 p.m. Notification banner. 9:17 p.m. Screen went black. 9:41 p.m. EMS arrival time on intake sheet. 24 minutes unaccounted for. I called the hospital and asked for Ava's records. They told me, politely, to get lost unless Ava signed a release. Fair. I asked if I could speak to the nurse who'd been on shift. Tessa called me back from a block number during my lunch break. "I'm not supposed to do this," she said, voice low. "But you looked like you were going to crawl out of your skin." "What did you see?" I asked. "I saw bruising that didn't match a fall," she said. "And I saw a boyfriend who answered every question for her." "Did the doctor run tox?" There was a pause. "He ordered basic labs." Her blood sugar was low. Her blood pressure dipped. Not unheard of. But another pause, sharper this time. "Your daughter had clonidine in her system." I gripped the edge of my desk. "Is that bad?" "It's a blood pressure medication," Tessa said. "It can make you faint. It can make you very compliant. It's not something a healthy 19-year-old should be taking as part of a routine." I asked her how sure she was. I'm reading it off the lab report, she said. Timestamp 2:13 a.m. The doctor didn't mention it to you because he assumed she took it herself. My hands went numb. What do I do? You document, she said immediately. You don't confront him alone. And you try to get her alone. After work, I went back to Ava's building and waited outside like a creep. At 6:52 p.m., Caleb arrived carrying 2 grocery bags and a case of bottled water. Ava followed 5 minutes later, head down, phone clutched like a shield. When she saw me, her face went tight. Dad, what are you doing? Talking to my daughter, I said. Caleb stepped between us smoothly. She said no surprises, he murmured. Ava's eyes flicked up to his, and she nodded like she'd been trained. Then she leaned in, voice barely there. Please don't make him mad, Dad. He'll make me pay for it. That night, back in my quiet house, I did something I hate admitting. I Googled clonidine fainting. It took 3 minutes for my chest to tighten. Low blood pressure, dizziness, sedation. In bigger doses, dangerous breathing. And a line that made my stomach flip. Can be used to facilitate assault. I kept trying to bargain. Maybe Ava had anxiety and a doctor prescribed it, and she forgot to tell me. Maybe that blister pack wasn't hers. Maybe I was building a horror movie out of a typo. So I tried the simplest reality check I could. I drove to a 24-hour pharmacy with the torn blister pack in a Ziploc. I slid it across the counter and asked, "Is this common?" The pharmacist didn't take it. She leaned forward, voice careful. "Sir, that's a prescription medication. Where did you get it?" "In my daughter's trash," I said. She fainted. They found it in her system. Her eyes sharpened. "How old is your daughter?" 19. She exhaled slowly. "We don't dispense clonidine to teenagers without a prescriber. And we definitely don't tell people to put it in water." She paused, then said the line that landed like a punch. "If someone is giving this to her without consent, that is a crime." On the way home, Ava finally texted me. Not angry, not defensive, just, "Can we not talk about tonight? I'm doing reset week." Reset week. Like she was a phone that needed rebooting. I asked what that meant. She didn't respond. 10 minutes later, Caleb texted from her number again. "She's sleeping. Stop stressing her." Stress. That was his favorite word for me. Like the problem was my worry, not her bruises, not the drops, not the missing 24 minutes. I called Tessa back and told her about the blister pack. "Okay," she said, and I could hear her shifting into nurse voice, practical and blunt. "Then we treat this like poisoning until proven otherwise." "Why would someone poison her?" I asked. Tessa didn't answer right away. "Sometimes it's about control," she said. "Sometimes it's about leverage. And sometimes—" I pushed. Her tone changed. "Roger, there's something else on that lab report." The lab report had another finding Tessa hadn't mentioned yet. The word poisoning sat in my mouth like metal. I wanted to drive to Ava's apartment and drag her out by force, logic be damned. But Tessa's voice stayed in my head. "You don't confront him alone. You document." So I did the thing I'm good at. I built a case. I printed the screenshot of Caleb's banner message and wrote the date and time on the back. I saved every text thread as PDFs. I took photos of the torn shipping label on the detox drops box, Ava's name, her address, delivery date. I even photographed the fresh tape over her peephole because something in me wanted proof her world was shrinking. Then I called the non-emergency line. The officer sounded bored until I said, "My daughter had clonidine in her blood and I found it in her trash." He put me on hold and came back with a name. Detective Ruiz is our intake for adult protective cases. He can talk to you tomorrow. Ruiz met me in a plain office, calm eyes, no theatrics. He listened while I unloaded everything, my voice cracking in places I didn't expect. When I finished, he asked, "Do you have proof she didn't take it willingly?" "I have her saying routine," I said. "I have bruises. I have him answering for her." "That's concerning," Ruiz agreed. "But it's not enough for an arrest without her cooperation." "She's scared," I said. "He's controlling her." Ruiz nodded once. "Then we need to get her alone. Safely. And we need to avoid tipping him off." "How?" I asked. "Medical follow-up is your best shot," Ruiz said. "A provider can ask him to leave the room. A nurse can document coercion. But your daughter has to talk." "And if she won't?" Ruiz leaned back. "Then you plan a welfare check with a witness, and you keep collecting." On my way out, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it in the car. It was Caleb's voice, friendly and slow. Roger, man, you're spiraling. If you keep showing up, we'll have to involve campus security. Ava needs peace, not paranoia. Behind his words, faint but clear, I heard Ava whispering, like he was feeding her lines. Tell him I'm fine. Ruiz asked one question that made my throat close. Once you start pulling on a thread, it tugs back. The day after I met Ruiz, Ava called me for the first time since the ER. Her voice was bright in that fake way that makes your skin itch. Hey, Dad, she said. I'm sorry, I snapped. I just needed space. Relief flooded me so hard I almost cried. Ava, thank God. Are you safe? I'm safe, she said quickly. Caleb's been really supportive. He thinks we should do, like, a cooling-off period with you. With me, I repeated. Yeah, she said, and I could hear the script under her words. Your intensity is a lot. Ava, I said softly, are you alone right now? Silence. Then, too cheerful, of course. In the background, a male voice murmured, tell him you're grateful. Ava repeated it, word for word. I'm grateful. My stomach dropped. Put him on, I said. Ava's tone sharpened. Don't do this. The call ended. 5 minutes later, my shared location access disappeared. The little blue that used to show Ava's phone on my map was gone. Then a campus email hit my inbox. Notice of concern. A report has been made regarding harassment of a student. It wasn't an accusation exactly. It was a warning wrapped in polite language. Caleb texted me from his own number this time, like he'd decided to stop hiding. I respect you as her father, but your behavior is becoming unsafe. Please don't contact her for 72 hours. Then, if you show up again, we'll escalate. Escalate. Like he was HR, and I was an employee he needed to manage. I forwarded everything to Ruiz. He replied with one line, do not respond. If he comes to you, call us. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with all the lights off, listening to the refrigerator hum and my own thoughts slam into each other. At 1:58 a.m., my phone buzzed with a new voicemail. Ava's voice this time, shaky and small. Dad, please. Just stop. I can't. She inhaled sharply, like she'd been interrupted, and then Caleb's voice cut in, close to the mic. That's enough. Click. I rewound it 3 times. Ava's breath sounded like fear. At 2:06 a.m., my front porch camera caught Caleb's face. I pulled up the porch clip and my hands went cold. Caleb stood on my step at 2:06 a.m., like he belonged there, hoodie up, eyes on my door. He didn't knock. He just set an envelope down and walked away. Inside was a single printed page, a boundary agreement in the fake therapy language Ava had started using. Rules like no unannounced visits and no medical questions, ending with, violation will result in legal action. No lawyer letterhead. No signature. Just intimidation in Times New Roman. Ruiz watched the clip without blinking. He's testing you, he said. He wants you to explode. I'm not going to, I said. I want a plan. Ruiz nodded. Medical follow-up. We control the environment. We get her alone. I scheduled a follow-up appointment under Ava's discharge instructions. Syncope, possible medication involvement. I texted Ava the time and address like it was non-negotiable. Insurance was in my name. If she didn't go, I'd have to force the issue another way. Ava replied an hour later, fine. Caleb will bring me. Ruiz arranged to be nearby. Tessa offered to come on her day off and hang around in scrubs so she could speak nurse to nurse if needed. The morning of the appointment, Ava arrived with Caleb in full charming mode. Mr. Dawson, he said, warm handshake. I'm glad we're doing this the healthy way. Ava avoided my eyes. She looked smaller than she had 2 weeks ago, like her body had learned to take up less space. When she hugged me, her arms were stiff, and I caught a sharp, minty chemical smell on her breath. At check-in, Caleb tried to answer for her. She's been fasting for reset week, he said. It's normal to feel lightheaded. The triage nurse glanced at the chart. We need Ava alone for a few questions. Caleb's smile held, but his eyes didn't. I'm her support person, he said. She gets anxious. Policy, the nurse replied, firm. Caleb looked at Ava like she was a test he expected her to pass. Ava swallowed, then whispered, it's okay. I'll be right back. When the nurse closed the door, Ava finally stopped pretending. Ava sat on the exam table with her hands clenched, eyes on the tile. For the first time in days, Caleb wasn't in the room to answer for her. The nurse asked, Any meds or supplements? Ava's mouth opened, closed. No. Tessa stepped in, gentle but direct. Ava, your labs showed clonidine. That doesn't come from electrolytes. Did someone give it to you? Ava flinched. It was part of Reset. What's Reset? The nurse asked. A group, Ava whispered. Online. Caleb's in it. They do challenges, fasting, discipline, breaking resistance. Her voice shook. He said the drops would help me focus. The drops were clonidine? Tessa asked. Ava nodded. The first time I fainted, he acted proud. He made me practice what to say. I slipped. I forgot the routine. Same story as last time. My throat tightened. Why would he want you to faint? Ava's face went red with shame. Because he records it, she said. He sends it to the group. They praise him for helping me surrender. And he has other videos, private ones. She swallowed hard. He said if I left, he'd send them to my scholarship office and say I'm unstable and abusing meds. The nurse's pen stopped. Ava, do you want help? Ava stared at the door. If he finds out, I told. The door opened and Ruiz stepped in. He won't hear it from you, he said. In the lobby, Ruiz approached Caleb with my screenshot printout, date and time on the back. Do you recognize this message? Ruiz asked. Caleb smiled. Out of context. Ruiz played the voicemail on speaker. Caleb's voice filled the space. Tell him you're fine. Caleb's expression hardened. Turn that off, he hissed, stepping toward Ava. Security moved, but Caleb still grabbed Ava's wrist, right where the bruises had been. Ava cried out. Tessa yanked her back. Ruiz cuffed him. You're under arrest for tampering and coercion. Caleb laughed once, sharp. You have no idea who you're messing with. Then Ruiz said something that made my blood run colder than the ER. Everything that happened next was both fast and slow. Fast. Ruiz took Caleb away in cuffs. Fast. A campus advocate I'd never met walked Ava through paperwork for an emergency no-contact order. Fast. Tessa photographed Ava's bruises, and the nurse added possible coercion to the chart in black and white language no one could soften later. Slow. Ava sitting in my passenger seat afterward, silent, staring out the window like the world had betrayed her and I was part of it. Slow. Her shaking hands when she signed the medical release so Ruiz could get full records. Slow. The way she said, I hate you. And then, 2 minutes later, don't leave me. Back at my house, my ex-wife came over furious. You got him arrested? She shouted in my driveway. Do you hear yourself? You set a trap around our kid. A trap? I said, voice cracking. He drugged her. My ex-wife's face flickered, doubt, then denial. Or she took something and you're blaming the boyfriend because you can't stand not being needed. Ava stood between us, eyes swollen. Stop, she whispered. Please stop. Online, Caleb's friends moved quicker than the system. I woke up to comments on my public Facebook profile. Control freak dad, and let her live, and one that made my stomach turn. You should have let her faint. Someone posted a blurry screenshot from the ER lobby. Me standing there, face twisted with fear, captioned paranoid parent meltdown. At work, my boss didn't care about context. Court dates and meetings with Ruiz meant missed shifts. I'm sorry, he said, not sorry at all. We need reliability. I lost my job on a Thursday, 2 hours after signing papers to help Ava break her lease. Ava moved back in with me, but she didn't really move back. She slept in my guest room with the door locked. She jumped at footsteps. She flinched when my phone buzzed, like every notification was a threat. One night she said, very quietly, I didn't tell you because I thought it meant I deserved it. I wanted to say 100 things. I said the only true one. You didn't. A week later, Ava asked me to listen to one recording. The recording was Caleb's voice, not angry, worse. Calm. Instructional. Like a meditation app. You're going to take 3 drops, he said, slow enough for her to repeat. You're going to breathe shallow. If you feel scared, that means it's working. Then you'll lie down and let your body surrender. Ava's voice in the background sounded like a kid trying to pass a test. 3 drops. Breathe shallow. Lie down. I had to pull over because my hands started shaking on the wheel. Ava sat beside me, staring straight ahead, like she was watching it happen again. Ruiz used the recording, the lab results, the bruising photos, and the shipping label to strengthen the no-contact order. Charges moved forward. Paperwork piled up in my kitchen like it was trying to bury us. Healing didn't arrive like a movie montage. It arrived like chores. We changed her phone number. We bought a lock and a doorbell camera and installed them together, hands stiff with awkwardness. Ava made a list on my fridge titled Safe People and wrote my name first, then crossed it out, then wrote it again. That's how shaky trust was. Tessa checked in by text most days, practical as ever. Drink water. Eat salt. Don't blame yourself. She also taught Ava a phrase that mattered. I want to answer alone. Ava practiced saying it like it was a spell. I started therapy too, because my coping was research until 3 a.m. and pretend I'm fine. My therapist made me say the words I'd been choking on. I was scared I was going to bury my child. Ava didn't want me in every appointment. That was the first boundary I respected without arguing. I learned to offer help and then shut up. I learned that hovering looks a lot like control, even when it comes from love. Some days she was furious with me. You read my texts, she'd spit. You went through my life like it was your property. And she wasn't wrong. So I apologized without excuses. I did. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do better. The first time she laughed again was stupid. I burned a frozen pizza and set off the smoke alarm. Ava covered her mouth, snorted, and then laughed for real, small, surprised, like it escaped. But the worst parts were still inside her, waiting. In therapy, Ava finally told me what reset week really meant. Reset week wasn't just fasting. Ava told her therapist, and then me, that it was a countdown. Caleb had a schedule on his phone. Wake at 5 o'clock. Cold shower. No food until permission. 3 drops in water before any difficult conversation. He called it regulating. She called it what it was, training. He'd practiced the collapse with her, the way you rehearse a fire drill. If your dad calls, you don't argue, he'd told her. You keep your tone soft. If he pushes, you faint. He'll prove to you he's unsafe. She said that last part with disgust, like she finally recognized the trap. He wasn't just trying to control her body. He was trying to rewrite her map of who to trust. I keep thinking about my choices. The moment I could have shrugged and said, college kids faint. The moment I could have protected my peace instead of my kid. I also think about the moments I got it wrong, showing up uninvited, reading her packages, acting like love gave me permission. The truth is ugly on both sides. I was scared, and fear makes you grab. But the one thing that saved her was boring documentation. The screenshot with the timestamp, the voicemail, the shipping label, the lab result that got written down even when no one wanted drama. The nurse who noticed cupping bruises don't look like thumbprints. If you're reading this and something feels off, here's what I wish I'd known sooner. Ask, plainly, are you safe to talk right now? Get them alone with a medical professional if you can. Save the receipts, texts, call logs, dates, screenshots, before anyone can delete them. Don't confront the controlling person alone, and don't try to win an argument. Ava is still healing. Some mornings she locks her door out of habit. Some days she eats a full meal and looks shocked afterward, like her body forgot it's allowed. But last week we walked around my neighborhood at dusk, the air cold and clean, and she slipped her arm through mine like she used to when she was little.